What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We are now live, and we are going to be picking up where we left off last week on this state of collection. I already have the piece in my shot here. Let me just pull it up. How is everybody doing? I appreciate you for tuning in. Let me just get camera 2 going. Hang on one second. Connect that. Perfect. What's going on, Dalton? You thought you were in a club with all the music going. Yeah, man, I was trying to do a little intro, trying to put something together there. I'm probably going to change that one out, but I figured just work on something and start from there. Give me 1 second just to adjust this camera. Make sure it's all set up to go. And hang on. Technical difficulty. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, we'll make that work. All right. What's going on? What's going on, Dalton? What's up, brother, man? Thank you for tuning in. So this is part 2 of the state of the collection. Like I said, I'm gonna pretty much pick it off right where I left off last time, which was the custom bronze watch that I had. So let me just take this comment. Oh, okay. So let me enter camera 2 and we'll start from there. So that was the first watch that I started messing around with as far as customizing. It went through a couple of changes. It went through a few changes, man. And now it's pretty much where I want it to be. I think it looks pretty pristine as far as the dial goes. I'm getting the color that I want. I was happy with the hands, and I actually blacked out the date wheel on this one. And from the last time, I already switched out the strap on it, but I think it's pretty much already set to go for that one. And for the rest of them coming up, it's going to be custom watches that I modded. And then we're going to get into the main box. So super excited. Going to do the breakdown, give a little bit of a backstory to all the watches and how they came to be, why they're in the collection, so on and so forth. Welcome anybody else who stepped in. I know we got a couple more people. I was a little late. I apologize, but we're right on track now. So I'm going to keep going into it. So the next watch, I'm super excited to show this one, man. The next custom watch that I put together, what was the inspiration behind that one? Dalton, the inspiration behind, okay, so I'll be honest with you, Dalton, this one is inspired just by me wanting to have a different material put into the collection. I found out about bronze being a material, and again, that was very early on because that was when I first started customizing watches. So the inspiration behind that was I was ready for a bronze piece as far as that material goes. And when I looked up the company that was giving the kit for it, they had one with the bronze casing on it. So it was perfect, right? So I was ready to add that kind of material to the collection. They had one to put together as far as that goes. And then I also knew that the NH35 was the movement for that watch. So I knew that I was going to be able to play with things inside of it along the way. And knowing that it was going to be my first custom watch, I wanted something that was going to be flexible. And I wasn't really happy with the standard dial that came with it. So, it was just something that I knew was going to be a work in progress. And that's pretty much where everybody goes when they want to customize their watches or get into customizing watches or building watches. The NH35 is pretty much the main meat and potatoes when it comes to availability. So that was pretty much the only inspiration. I mean, I was into the fact that the bronze casing was going to patina. I like that look. I mean, when it first came, it was like a really bright color. It's almost the same color as the strap. Like it was a little bit lighter. And then it's just patinaing over time. It's getting a little bit darker and darker. And I love that. Plus with that dial, that emerald dial, it's going to have that contrast. Like the more it patinas, the more it's going to have that contrast. So I love that, and it worked for me. So that was the inspiration behind that bronze watch. And it worked for me, man. It really came together pretty nice. So that's that. Now, the next one. that I'm gonna bring up. So Swatch, right? Like, let me talk about Swatch for a little bit. Not in the depth, right? You guys are, it's beating a dead horse at this point. But the next watch that I'm gonna bring up to you guys was actually inspired by the Blancpain watch that came out, that they did the collab with. And I figured at that point, so I already had the Swatch mission to Pluto, right? And they came out with the Blancpain collab, but I wasn't really trying to pick up another, Swatch watch. I love that watch. It's super fun, but for me to have more than one is just overkill. I know a lot of people collect all of them, and that's fine, but I got inspired to see if there were parts available that I could build my own Blancpain. Because listen, at that point, I was really like in love with two watches. I was in love with the Rolex Sub, right, which has changed at this point, and I was in love with the Blancpain. And if you guys know the history, those are the two companies that came out with the dive watch first, or at least like, generally speaking, one of the first two to come to market with it. So long story short, this watch came from that inspiration of Swatch doing the collaboration. Now, obviously, we all know that theirs is plastic and this one is in metal. Same internal parts, NH35. Blue's my favorite color. So I really got what I wanted out of this watch, and it came together exactly how I want it to be. So NH35, faux patina on this one, blue bezel. And this one was a little bit of a mission because I wanted the dial to be that particular blue. And at the time, I had to source particular manufacturers for the case. And then one person had the case, another person had the dial. So I really had to figure that out. But that being said, when I was all said and done, I was very happy with the finished product. And of course, I have my custom Santana on there. On the bottom, it says 50 Fathoms Unlimited Edition. And then in very small writing is my birth year. But this was one of the learning curves too, right? Like learning how to size the text on a watch. And the bottom text is a little too small. Trap, what up, brother? Trap, Dave D. Okay, the family's pouring in now. The family's pouring in. What's up, guys? Stricko, what's up, brother? So I was super excited about this. Once I saw they had that casing available, they have a different renditions of it available as well that you can get, like more of like the more traditional Blancpain. This is like the very first ones that they came out with, but I also paired it with this strap, and it also says 50 Fathoms on there. So it's a complete homage. It's a complete version of my Blancpain that I wanted to do, and I'm very happy with it, man. I think the dial colorway is very nice. There's a little bit of fading or a fade lookout. The only qualm that I had with it is the bezel. The bezel's in white, and I wanted that to be in faux patina too. But nitpicking, I guess I settled on the fact that the writing on the dial is white, so that kind of matched it up pretty well. So all in all, very happy with this watch. Very excited. Very pleased to wear it and everything else, man. And I figured, if Swatch could do it, why can't I make my own rendition? So just to end the note for this watch, like the manufacturer, I got this from AliExpress, and I don't think that you're going to find this case right now. I think right after I purchased the casing, they had a little bit of an issue as far as manufacturing it moving forward, that so much so on the crown. So, if you guys are looking to do this, they do have other iterations that you can make it your own, but it's going to be a little bit hard to find that exact casing. All right, let's see what the chat. Trap's here. He's showing love. What up, big bro? Stricko's in the building. What's going on? Dave D. All right, let's trudge along. So now, next up. Okay, so I was in the phase of, like I said, Rolex Sub being the grail, and also I like the Omega Seamaster 300, right? So I had to go at it again. I had to make my own homage, and like I was completely okay with just Pagani designing the homage. But at a certain point, once I found out that I could do my own custom dials, that's pretty much where you're going to see a lot of these go. So let's bring the camera down a little bit closer and get this into focus. So again, complete homage of Omega's Seamaster 300. Blue is my favorite color, so it's all blued out. And again, I completely customized everything as far as the lettering on the dial. Learn that when it has texture like this, though, it's going to split the actual text if you're not, having it super professionally done. So it was just a learning curve for me to do. And this dial is a little bit bigger, which is fine. It's still an NH35 dial. They had it available. You can make it work. But I think this came out pretty nice too, man. It's all blued out. It's got the red in there. If you notice, that's kind of like my theme. I like to go with blue and some kind of red on the second hand. But the inspiration was, gaining that homage to eventually own the real thing, which, as you guys know by now, that's probably going to change regardless. So I'm going to be happy with just wearing the language design for now, because, I'm just finding more value in other things. So, for now, I'm just going to have a lot of fun. Mesh bracelet with it. Very simple, very straightforward. Now, if you guys are looking for a mesh, this one's a little bit bulky at the clip, but there are ones that are a lot more bulkier and it's not comfortable. So just pay mind to that. But I thought it was a home run regardless. I mean, my only qualm with this one, again, is that text is split where you see it says Santana. Not a big issue, right? Most people are not even going to notice that, or even it's going to be a thing. And then I decided to put vintage on it, my birth year again, just playing around with things, man. Just, seeing how things will come out and just see how it all works, right? And so this was originally a Pagani design. Let me show you guys. I think they still have their text on the back of it. I don't know if I could get it to show on camera. Hang on. Yeah, there you go. Pagani design, right? So all I did for this one, aside from, like, let's say that Blanc Pond that I did from scratch and I made all the pieces come together, I just swapped the dial on this. It's that simple. Go to Pagani Design, pick you up a watch for $100, go to a custom, dial person. And I think that's only going to run you around $50-$60 to just swap out the dial if you want to go that route. So like that, you don't have to mess around. Like, you don't have to be completely crazy savvy with trimming the stem and making the crown fit in right and everything else. I mean, you still got to play around with the hands because they have to be removed, so on and so forth. But, if you just change the dial out, you could make it your own watch, from there. So that was that. Nice build, bro. Thank you, Trap. How many iterations of the dial did you go through before being happy with the final product? So, all right. When I started, and it's actually going to be the next watch, Dalton. So it's actually perfect that you asked that question. So when I started having the itch to change a dial, it really started with this watch. And this is also a Pagani design, and it's the Submariner, homage or clone, whatever you want to say. So this was my first dial that I did, and I put the Santana on there, and I was happy with the sizing on this. I mean, on the bottom, you could see 1989 is very clear. It was supposed to say since 1989. That one's not that clear, but I was still very happy with the way this came out. Keep in mind, Dalton, that when you are creating your dial text on there and you're communicating back and forth, they can send you like what do you call that? They can send you renditions of it, right? They're gonna do it over the computer first and show you how it's gonna come out, and then you could say yes, yes, no, no, at that point. So technically speaking, I was unhappy later on trying to mess around with different designs and just seeing how they came out on the dial. I may have pulled the trigger a little too early on a couple of them, but they weren't to the point or to the effect where I was like, well, I'm not going to leave it. Like, I left them alone, and I was happy again with this first one that came out. And then later on, when you saw like the Omega homage and the lines going through it, I wasn't too thrilled, but it wasn't enough for me to completely change it around. So it's hit or miss. But again, when you're communicating with them, they're going to show you pretty much how it's going to come out before you okay it. So I would go with that, but just pay mind that they're going to show you a zoomed out version. So you may want to ask them if they can show you what it looks like, you know, if it's just a wrist shot, right? So it may look super clear when they first send it to you because it's going to be a close up, but that would be my only tip for you, just to make sure that you're happy with that final product, Dalton, if that makes sense. So yeah, guys, this is the second Pagani design. Technically, the first Pagani design that I swapped out the dial for. And I think this one I did twice. Okay, so this one I did technically 2 times on the dial. The very first time I ended up scratching part of the letters on it. And I think I just ordered the same thing, which is another thing to note. Your first mold, if you will, for the text that you're sending them that you want is going to cost the most. But if you're making multiple dials of the same thing, the second, third, and so on and so forth are going to be less money. So, you know, just keep that in mind. If you're looking to build a watch that's like maybe, you know, mom, dad, brother, and you want to build a watch that's all matching, you know, it's good to keep that in mind that later down the road, those are going to be less. So if the first one is 50, the next one's probably going to be like 25, 30. And, you know, you could take it from there. Dalton, if you hit me up later on, I could let you know the people that I used. That way you could kind of narrow it down, because that's another thing too. You know, it's a hit or miss who you're having to do the dial for you, you know, what their quality is. Like, you really don't know truly, even if they send you the renderings prior, how it's going to really look in person. So yeah, bro, if you hit me up, I see you got the thumbs up there. If you hit me up, I don't know if you're on Watch Crunch, Dalton. You can send me a direct message or however you want to contact me. I'll let you know what time it is on that. But anyway, so this one was done for the Submariner homage, which was my number one pick at one point. I thought that this was supposed to lead me to getting to the real thing. I was supposed to risk this for as long as it took and eventually go after the real thing. But again, that's going to be changing over time for particular reasons. And at the meantime, I get to enjoy that kind of language design. Now, obviously, the Rolex Submariner is the number one watch that's homaged. So I could have done it so many different ways. But I think that for how this ended up turning out, I'm completely happy with it. Like, the Mercedes hands is a little played out for me. Even though if I'm going to get the real thing, obviously it's going to be with the Mercedes hands. But I think that the arrows that I put on here are very elegant and very different from that. Second hand, obviously, too. But other than that, it's pretty much going to resemble that. And then I'll just show you guys. I ended up changing the bracelet, too, just to keep it a little. It's the, you know, Rolex kind of bracelet on Jubilee. But I wasn't cool with like Pagani design being all over it. I think on theirs, they gave me the Oyster version. And I ended up swapping that out because I wanted it to, you know, just look like that. So that was the back of it. It's Pagani Design's back case to it. Now, another thing to note about Pagani Design, what I've noticed recently is they use sometimes odd shaped sizes for their case backs and for sometimes their dials. So I think that they're trying to make it less accessible to be customized. That's just my speculation, because I tried to get a case back. I wanted to get a see-through case back, but I ended up saying, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. But I ended up buying like a couple of case backs to put on here, and they didn't fit. So, you know, I don't know what the deal is with that. And I also left the signed crown by them. So, you know, other than that, you know, you really couldn't tell after swapping out that dial. So yeah, man, this is where it's at. And I wore it for a while with it saying Pagani Design on it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, just me being able to change out the dial, just having that option was something for me to, you know, move forward towards. And with the hands and everything else, I think it came out really good. And those the loom on the markers match the loom on the hands too. Not a big deal if they don't, but it's nice that they do. So Third Watch, what up, brother? Welcome in, welcome in. All right. So those were the two Pagani designs, one being the sub, one being the Seamaster 300. And now we're going into another Rolex homage. And of course, it's going to be customized. So this is the Lefty. I think this one is called the Sprite, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what it's coined as far as that goes. But Lefty, man, what's my inspiration for this one? So I thought it was just really cool, right? I'm a lefty. Not that that's a big deal for me, because normally you would get a lefty watch if you're wearing it on your left arm because you don't want the crown to dig in. But I always wear mine behind the bone. I just thought it was nice to get something like that. So let me tell you the story on this one. So I originally got the Pagani design version. This is not a Pagani design, by the way. So I got the Pagani design version of it. And it looked exactly the same, and it was at a fantastic price. I think it was under, if I'm not mistaken, they put it at a crazy sale. I don't know if it wasn't selling, but it still was a phenomenal watch with that Seiko movement, right? What is it? The NH34, I believe, is their GMT collar movement. Fantastic price, right? And me going through two watches of the NH35, I felt very comfortable in the fact that I could change out the dial, right? So this is leading into what I said before about Pagani design, kind of like switching up the sizing of their parts on the inside. And this is where I kind of learned it. So I took apart that movement and I removed the dial, and I got a lefty dial for it with the date wheel being on the left side, like you see here, everything else. So I'm going into it. I'm super confident. I'm like, no problem. I pop off the dial, and for some reason, the dial didn't fit. And it wasn't an oversized thing. It wasn't that it was too big, too small. They had a ring around the movement that was just not working with a normal, Seiko custom piece. So just to put it out there for you guys, I mean, there's plenty of companies that will give you what you want, and you don't have to go with Pagani design and then swap out parts. If you don't want to. And this was the second option that I've gotten from a company that had the same exact setup, same exact parts as them. And I got the full custom design. So this is on an Oyster bracelet with the Rolex type of clasp there. Big Ben is in the building. What's going on, Ben? Good evening, sir. Missing your show again. Having a night with the wife. No, it's all good, brother. It's Friday, If you got to be with wifey, then you got to be with wifey. That's more important. Get me on the playback. Nah, man. Thank you for dropping in to say hi, though, bro. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody else that's in here, man. Let's rock and roll. So, again, you have the Rolex clasp there, and just to show you guys that this is not a Pagani design. I mean, I have still the Pagani design sitting behind me. It's in pieces just because I completely trashed the dial. I really was super confident, and I scratched off. Like, I used that dial in the Pagani design as a mess around. Like, I was trying to see if I could scratch the dial off, this, that, and the third. But anyway, so as you see, case back, there's no marking. This is just, regular Seiko part type of casing with no marks on it, nothing else. And so from the store that I got this one in, I was able to choose the hands that I wanted, right? And I was okay this time with going with the Mercedes second hands because I thought that was a lot more classy than using it on the hour hand. And it's still like a nod over to Rolex, right? And I was super happy with this. Now, the only thing that I learned from here was that you could see in the hour and minute hand that it's a little off-white versus the GMT time. That one's super white, and the rest are like a little off-white. I don't know if it shows up. Yeah, it shows up like in an angle over here. For me, I don't care. It's a little green, and the bezel itself is green. So, whatever. I could always go in there and change it for super white if I really want to. But I'm a nitpicker. Like I look at the details when I do these. Starbucks. Yes, Starbucks. Thank you, Trap. I look at the very, very details when it comes to these things. And all in all, man, it's a solid homage to it. So it's got my name on there, so I'm not too mad at it. Now the crown, everything is done a little bit backwards with this watch, which is something I had to get used to. But I just want to remove that so you guys can see the Santana on there. See how that came out? Very crispy, very crispy. And that's another thing. So when you send these guys what you want from the custom dial, you're sending them the font, right? Like you could go to fonts.com, go through like a billion different fonts that they have on there, choose the one that you want. You're sending that to them, and then you're saying, hey, I want this as the logo. If you want to put your name on it, right? If you don't, then you just choose a logo. Try to keep it simple. The more complicated it is on the logo, the harder it's going to be harder it's going to be for it to translate. So keep that in mind if you're not using a regular name or anything else like that. But at the end of the day, you're sending them what you want, and then they're going to respond if they can or can't do that. Color usually costs more too, but just keep in mind, try to keep the text clear. Don't go for a crazy script font on this. It is script, but it's not something with like too thin lines or too crazy. Bold is better because that's always going to translate too. So that was that. Yeah, 9 o'clock. Wait, I saw somebody say something. Oh, snap. Dalton. Oh, snap. Yeah, the date's at 9 o'clock. So that was one of the things that I had to look out for. When I started with the first one, not this one, it was a Pagani design, and I understood that I had to get a dial that had a date window cut out, or an aperture, if you will, at the 9 o'clock. And I did that, and it was the right size dial. It was the right size everything, but the feet lined up, but it just didn't fit inside of it because, like, again, they had a collar around the movement. So just food for thought, man. If you're thinking about transforming a Pagani design, I think that they're trying to make it a little bit harder to do that by customizing their NH35s, NH34s, whatever movement they're using, and everything else. So this was possible by Seiko, man. Big ups to them. They made another very affordable, another very reliable movement for us to play around with and get a GMT watch. And this one, the story behind it is I wanted to dabble with a GMT. I never really got it because I'm never really tracking a time zone, and I still don't. But it's very fun to mess around with, and I usually just keep that GMT time when I'm setting it. I just keep it to the hour that it is, like in military time, if you will, and I just use it to track day and night time as if I don't need to, but I have a lot of fun with it, man. And if I do travel, super affordable watch. I think this one in total cost me, it had to be less than 200 for sure. I want to say it was like around $150, maybe less, everything in, like with the custom dial, with the case, with the bracelet and everything else. So definitely something for you guys to look out for. If you're interested to do something like that, you could still be very, very affordable in doing that. Shame about Pagani design. Should be Mono Dream, and the whole package is so cheap, intentionally or not. Yeah, I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, Strico. I would have to say that, listen, it may not be intentional. It may just be a price, a budget thing. Maybe it's cheaper to go the route that they're going. And it wouldn't make any sense to me as a business owner, right? Like if people are buying my Pagani design to mod it, they're still buying it. And, what are the percentage of people that are actually going to mess around with the watch to modify it? So, I mean, if you want to, take that watch and you want to modify it, have at it. You're still buying a watch. You know what I mean? Wifey saying hello for people for me. Thank you, baby. Show the boys. Thank you so much, Refi. Show the boys that next. Dalton under 200 is a plus. Yeah, man. I'm trying to. I mean, listen. Most of my collection is that, right? I have a few watches that are above 200, but I'm showing these guys custom watches that are mainly under 200, even with the custom dial that you're going to do. So, and listen, you could even talk to them and have them assemble it for you. Like if you find a store on AliExpress and they have everything that you want, you could technically have them assembled the watch all together and just have it sent to you, and then it's completely customized and it's all ready to go for you. You know what I mean? Not always the case because a lot of the stores are limited on there, but if you want to stick to just choosing what they have for that reason, have at it. For me, I don't mind. I like having options. I like getting my stuff from different stores and putting it together. But all right, guys, next watch, next customized watch. So this one is a Frankenstein. What do I mean by that? So I did a watch for a guy, Ben. He was just in here. He popped in to say hi. But I did a watch for Ben for his travel watch. He had a particular event where he wanted to take a watch and he wanted to send it around the world, right? Really cool event. So people signed up. He created a list, whatever country they're in. I'm pretty sure he mapped it out to neighboring countries, whatever logistics look. But at the end of the day, it's a traveling watch that people get to enjoy. They share it as a community. They share their stories. Some people are divers. Some people are runners. Some people are this. Some people are that. And everybody gets to really put their own spin and have their own thing on it. So let me share with you guys what that looks like. So like that, this makes sense. So that was the travel watch that I built for his event for 2024. Let's bring that up a little bit bigger. So that was a travel watch. As you can see, it's super, super similar. I ended up getting 2 or 3 different parts to put that together because I wanted to match and make it look really cool. So I ended up having, leftover pieces, which is what you're seeing from this watch at the end of the day. And I ordered a couple of my Santana dials and everything else. So I really put this watch together from just pieces that I had laying around. Like I have a bunch of hands, I have a bunch of dials. I think I even have some casings in that drawer as well. So sometimes I'll just throw a watch together, whether or not it's going to stay that way, I don't know. So this one came as a green PVD coated case. And then it was a green bezel, but I ended up swapping the two because his travel watch, I built it mainly to look like the earth colors. So I wanted blue for the body of water and I wanted green around there. I ended up settling on all blue for this for reasons that is a long story. Long story short, the first one got stolen and I had to build it again. So I ended up just leaving it all blue, but you could see from the dial from this one, there's a world in there that I put. And then the second hand on this is an airplane. I don't know if you can see it. It's like right above the date wheel. So I had those leftover parts from that watch, which is what I built out of this. And I thought this was a funky chicken, right? So a dive watch style, that Seiko tuna kind of build and gothic hands. Of course, I've got my Santana on there, but you don't normally see, Roman numerals on a dial, and especially on a dive watch, rather. So I just thought that it was cool to put something that looked very different around there. It's got the shroud, it's got the regular bolts on the side there to fasten that shroud, and it's just a completely custom watch, and it's exactly like the one that I sent out there to travel. And I wanted to build a modification that was like a tank, right? Because I don't know who's going to get the watch. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I had one gentleman already. I forget where he was from. I think it's still circling around the UK, but he was a diver. He was getting in the water with it. It was freezing water. So he actually messaged me and he was like, "Hey man, I'm going to take this watch and I'm going to do some crazy stuff with it. I want to be respectful." And I was like, go for it. I was like, do whatever you want to do. I built this watch to be a tank. And if it fails, it fails. So, it is what it is. And if I have to fix it, it's very, cost effective parts, right? Like nothing, you can't really do much to the case to damage it. You're pretty much just going to damage the movement and maybe everything else, with rust. But if I got to gut it and start from scratch, I could do that. So I told him, do whatever you want to do, man. We sent this, watch out there to have some fun and to go and, do whatever you normally would do or do something a little more extreme and tell us the story. That was the point. So, with that travel watch that he has, that's what it's pretty much going under. And that's pretty much it. Let me look at the comments here. Ben and Watch. What is he saying? Can you say hello to my boys? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Ben and Watch to the boys, Archie and Alex. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for watching. You guys are warriors too, and your dad is awesome. I'm guessing those are the kids. Might ask Skylar to make a 50th birthday watch. Yeah, absolutely, Ben. Absolutely. A 50th birthday watch. I'm all for it, brother. Just hit me up. You know I got your back. Um. JP's in the building. JP is in the building. JP, you just missed me going through some of my mods, man. That's more. Third watch. That's more confidence. Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, shout out to this guy right here, man. He just launched his watch. We're in talks right now. I want to do a review. We're going back and forth of just the logistics of it. But he actually released his own watch. Same thing, NH35, very reliable movement. He's got a pilot style watch. So check him out. He's up on Watch Crunch, same name, Third Watch, and he did a release this Easter, man. And I'm digging the watch, man. I'm digging the custom design that he did. It's not this watch. Don't get it confused if you're just popping in. But he's out there on Watch Crunch. Check him out. Check out the watch that he released. It's a beautiful watch, man. It's just for a first release, I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to get my hands on it so I could do a thorough review of it. But I'm more than confident that it's going to be pretty good. I mean, listen, a lot of you may be like, hey, it's NH35, but it's got drilled lugs in it from what I saw. Fantastic. He's got a great strap on there. So definitely check out Third Watch if you guys get the chance. All right. So just catching up the chat. Everything is good. Yeah. All right, cool. So moving on. So that was the inspiration for that, guys. I built that travel watch, and I had, like I said, I had some parts left over, and I was just messing around playing with it. So this was also like a real Frankenstein, because the chapter ring on this, I kind of had to, this is really like a cardinal sin. I had to glue the chapter ring onto the dial, because technically the dial that it was made for had feet holes in it where it could sit snug in there. So, but if I just omitted the chapter ring, then it wouldn't be sandwiched in properly. It'd be kind of loose. So I had to use that chapter ring and make it work. And I glued it, man. You're not supposed to use any type of glue, any type of adhesive inside of a watch. It's a no-no. But I did it in a way where I used it very, seldom. Like I didn't smear it all over the place. I tried to control it as much as I could, but again, I'm just having fun with this watch. So at the end of the day, anything that goes wrong, I'll just mess around with it. Now, for the next watch, another homage. Speedy, man. The Speedy homage. So another watch that I really admired back when I was on my luxury kick was obviously the Speedmaster, right? Everybody loves the Speedmaster. You got Speedy Tuesday. And this was pretty much like the last custom dial watch that I'm going to do. Again, I have a couple of them sitting in as spares. So if I decide one day to do something, but I'm talking about something from scratch, this is going to be probably the last one that I do. But again, if Swatch could do it, why can't I? So I put this one, I wanted it in metal. We're talking about a quartz now, VK3 or VK30, something like that, is the movement chrono, obviously, and it's going to be the homage of the Speedmaster. And screw down crown. This one was not a Pagani design. This one is something that I got from a store that had all the pieces. I wanted that panda look too. I believe that was also another inspiration, but I was really itching to get an actual Speedy. But again, I'm not ready to go that route, and I keep repeating myself, but I figured, let me homage it just like how I did the others. Let me see if it's possible for them to get that Santana logo that I wanted. I probably should have dropped that logo just a smidge. And again, they're going to send you renderings, and from the original one, I believe I told them to drop it down too, because you see how close it is to the 11 o'clock and the 1 o'clock. It's a little bit too close for my taste. I could have dropped it down just a little bit, but long story short, I'm happy with it. It came out, very, very clear. It's got the date wheel, of course, quartz, VK63. I think, yeah, I think that that's the actual um movement in it. So again, man, just homaging those expensive luxury watches at affordable rate. Again, I think that this one ran me sub 200 as well. I forget, but it's usually around like 150 to 180 if you're really like putting some crazy parts and you're really buying it from like different stores. But I normally stick to the same store if I'm happy with all the pieces. But if I'm getting very particular and I want to switch it up, that's what I do. So Panda style chrono, screw down crown, which is nice. Bracelet is nice. And I also started messing around with the engraving. What's going on here? Oh, I got the diver extension. So on the bracelet, I started messing around with some engraving. Not completely happy with this. This is a little cheesy, if you will, but I wanted to see how it would come out. I don't think, yeah, prior to this, I didn't do too many engravings. On the travel watch that I did with Ben, is some engraving that actually came out nice, but that's behind the case back. But this one is all right, man. This one's all right. This bracelet's not bad. Deployment here, and then it has diver extension right there, which I'm never going to use, but it's nice. It's nice to know that I have it just in case. Very happy with this one, man. Again, I was on the fence of doing it, which I really shouldn't be. Who cares? But if Swatch could do it, why can't I? So I gave it a crack, and it came out pretty good, man. Pretty solid. So moving on now. All right. So now we're going to get to the main rotation, if you will, guys. I do rotate my watches as much as I could. In fact, today I didn't do a wristwatch check. Let's do that. Today I'm wearing my wooden watch, and I realized that the battery's dead, but today I was able to wrist it, man. We've been having a lot of rain in New York, and it finally kind of quieted down. I mean, we traded that for a mini earthquake today, but at the end of the day, I was able to put this one on. The rain, stopped, and super comfortable, man. The wood is very, very lightweight. I don't know too much of the specifications, like I told you guys on the part 1 that I did, because this was a gift from wifey, and she wanted to keep, everything a little bit of a secret, and I don't want to dig. It was a gift, so I want to keep it that way. But I just got to swap the battery out on this, but it's a very, very super comfortable NATO strap on there. So I'm very happy with it. And it came with the wooden bracelet, but that's what's on wrist. Cool learning. All right. So is that the logo applied or engraved? This is third watch. This is done by laser engraving. Laser. It's not applied. I don't know if it translate on camera there, but you could see from the side that there's nothing coming up. So this is just a laser etching on there. Nothing too crazy. I mean, they could also do color if you want. You have to pay a couple more doll hairs for that. But at the end of the day, yeah, still a very good quality in my eyes for that. At a very affordable rate, AliExpress has it. So guys, I'm going to grab my main box now. So just give me 1 second to do that. I don't know if you guys can see in the background. That's all my custom, my that's the workbench, guys, back there. I don't know if you guys can see it clearly. All my tools and everything else is back there. So that's the setup. There you go. That's the setup back there. Timograph, a whole bunch of shelves. It started off with one shelf, and then I had to just keep adding to it. So that's where all the magic happens, if you're wondering, on the custom watches that I do and everything else. All right, so this is the main box. Let's get this set up. Okay, now the main attraction, eh? Where do I start? All right, let's start in the main box with the first watch I've ever gotten. So, funny cow. So the main box and the main first watch that I have for it. Let me fix the camera. My bad. And take this comment off. So this is technically, so here's the story behind this one. So this is a Michael Kors, right? This is a fashion watch done by them. I believe Fossil was doing their watches at point in time, but diver style, chocolate, it's kind of like a chocolate brown type of vibe on the stainless steel on this one. And it had a stainless steel bracelet, but I couldn't adjust the links to make it fit the way I want to. So I ended up putting this nice brown leather strap on it. But this was given to me by my girlfriend, now wife, of 17 years now. 17 years. She's nodding. She's in the background, guys. She's like, very good. 17 years ago, she gave me this watch. I mean, it was probably like a year or two in, but yeah, man, I wasn't a big watch guy at the time, right? I wore it a couple of times. I even have some photos still of me wearing it. But this one basically went into a draw for a very long time. We're talking, I think maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago is when I really started becoming a watch guy. Prior to that, I stuck this watch in a drawer. And she hit it right on the head. I don't know how. Even before I was a collector, she knew that I like divers, and it's got the little bezel action on it. But this sat in a drawer for a long, long time. And even when I got into watch collecting, I didn't realize that I had this watch, man. So I started putting together my collection, and I had a couple of the super affordable watches. And she came out with this watch, and I think it was still in the box when she's nodding her head. And this was still in the box. That's the only good thing that I did. I mean, I would have never, tossed it, or I would never have lost it, because, it was a gift from her and I loved it dearly. I just wasn't a watch guy at the time. But I somehow, with the grace of God, kept it in its watch box, which, dust, dirt, blah, blah, blah. And it's not fumbling around and getting scratches. And she came out with this watch box, guys. And you would have thought that she had found like my lost Rolex. Like when she showed me this watch, I was like, no way. I was like, I remember that watch. I was so hyped. I was so hyperactive at that point. And I love this thing, man. I'll tell you what, man, I'll start from scratch on any watch in my collection. I almost cursed. I'll start from any watch in my whole entire collection. I kid you not. I will not lose this watch. This watch is irreplaceable for me, and I absolutely love it. It's a quartz watch, Michael Kors, like I said. I think, like I said, Fossil produces their stuff at the time. But yeah, man, I love this thing. I love this thing, and it's got a little diamond around it. It's just different. It just hits different and super sentimental to me. I mean, I went through my sentimental pieces in the first one, but I ended up this is in the main box, and it's going to be in the main box. And I don't put it on wrist that often. It's just it's a very special occasion type watch. And yeah, it's a vibe. Exactly, babe. It's a vibe for me. So I definitely love it, and irreplaceable, not going anywhere. Put the leather strap on there, and it's ready to go, man. Ready to go. Love this piece. So next in line. Oh, let's talk about this one, man, because this one hits almost as much as that one. Nothing hits more than me than that watch, but this one has a story. So the Movado Museum watch, the museum style watch, right? Yo, when I was a kid, right, I was never big into watches, but I remember walking up 86th Street in Brooklyn, and they had this watch in the front, like in the glass. And I used to think, guys, that this watch was like a Rolex. I used to say, like, this watch is so elegant, yet just so well put together. I'm like, that watch must, in my mind as a kid, I'm like, that watch has to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just thought it was really classy, man. It's rich with a lot of history. Everybody's going to pretty much recognize this at the drop of a hat. And I think that it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a very minimalistic style. They have these watches now that have that super, super deep black. That's not the case on this one, but it's dark enough, and it's obviously a minimalistic style watch, and that's how they always did their bolds. And I absolutely love and adore this one. Thank you, Ben Movado. A nice watch. Yeah, man. Thank you. This is the original strap that came with it. I just added this little butterfly clasp just to make it look a little fancy schmancy. But, there it is, the Movado Bold. It's a quartz movement, but man, is this thing super elegant. I love this thing. I know it's nothing. I know some people are not that crazy about Movado, and they feel like they've turned more of a fashion watch than anything else. But for me, man, it's attached to those memories, like I said, of seeing it when I was younger. And I got this as a gift from mom, and it just all came together. So very beautiful watch. Again, put the little clasp on there. I like to put these clasps on leather straps just so like that I'm not torquing the leather like that too much, where you'll increase the wear and tear, because the more you have to angle the leather strap when you're taking it off, the more it's going to have that deep crease in it. So when you have this clasp, you're just clipping here, you're putting it into position, and then you're kind of just like pushing it through and clipping it down, rather than turning it and twisting it, and then when you take it off, you deploy it and then you just slip it out. So that's just something that to keep in mind if you guys are putting on leather straps and you want to just increase its longevity, its lifespan, if you will. So yeah, man, Movado Bold, absolutely love it. I put a mark on there. Very sad about that, but at the end of the day, I wear my watches, and if they get beat up, they get beat up, man. I try not to baby them too much unless I have a deeper reason. But yeah, moving on. So that was the Movado Bold. Where are we going from here? Let's see. All right, let's stick with the more dressier side. So right next to the Movado Bold, I got the Bambino. We all know this one. The Orient Bambino. I believe this one is the third. I think it's the third rendition that they had. So the more popular version of this watch is the one with the blue markers on it and the blue hands. And I was very close to doing the same thing, but the last minute, I ended up going with the rose gold. I don't know why. I think that it just spoke to me in more of like a vintage language. Even though, listen, blued hands I know are very popular for vintage too, but you know what it was? I had to step away from the blue, man. At that point, so this is later. This is later in the watch collecting, and I realized that I love blue. If I wanted every watch to be blue, that would be fine. But I mean, at this time, I was like, let me get something different, and let me, just change the style up. And I wanted a vintage watch, but I couldn't be too confident in buying the seller, because that's what you got to do when you go vintage. You got to know the history of the watch. You got to know exactly what the condition is and what's going on. So you're buying the seller, right? You're trusting the source that's selling you the watch. So instead of doing that, sticking to the theme of affordable watches, this watch is only like $150 to like $180, and then you get your vintage, design, and it's all brand new parts inside. And Orient is a very solid company, man. Whether you're talking about their diver watches or some of the watches they have moon phases on, they're a solid company, man. In-house movements, affordability. I dare to say, and I'm speaking respectfully here, I dare to say that they're pretty much taking where Seiko left off as far as like everything in details, everything in, solid movements, and having just less mistakes manufacturing with Orient. I feel like, that's pretty much where, Orient is. The only problem is that, they're not, they're obviously owned by Seiko, right? So I'm not saying much, but at the end of the day, Orient is not marketed as much as Seiko is. Like, you can walk into any AD, that carries the more affordable brands, and they're of course going to have a roll of Seiko. But if you say Orient, like I went to a few spots, and this was back when I was shopping for the Tissot, and I would just drop the name just to see if like I could see different renditions in person. I'd be like, "Hey, do you have an Orient watch?" And they just look at me like, what are you talking about? So, it's obviously not in stores. So Still a solid watch, though. I mean, you guys seen tons of reviews on them, so it's worth trying and giving a shot if you're going to buy online. JP, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to get into the strap. So I paired it with this ostrich strap, man, and I got to say that it's probably like I have like a couple of straps for every watch, but this strap for this watch is on the money so much that I don't think that I'm going to ever swap out the strap on this until it's really like ready for a change from being a little beat up. But man, I just feel like it just goes so well. I mean, they're rose gold hands, which you could kind of see from an angle, but it's that orange plays with the light of the rose gold features just enough to like, man, just tie it together and give it even more of that vintage vibe, right? Like, just gives it that complete, wrap up package for that. And then, of course, as I told you guys before, I like to pair that with a deployment clasp just to make it a little bit more viable as far as longevity goes. And you're not, bending that strap. So that's what I did to give it that more of an elegant look. And I love this watch. I normally don't dress up, but I put on polo shirts and I dress up enough where I throw this on wrist, and I don't care, man. And wifey will attest to this. I'll wear this watch with like an Adidas pants and sneakers, and I'll just rock it. It doesn't even matter for me. Like, I don't have to go with the theme of my watch. It's just what I'm feeling for the day. So having that vintage inspiration in this watch and it being super, super affordable, I'm just so happy with it. They've got their engraving here in the case back. Let's just show you the Orient. And they're showing you Epson Group, which we all know is Seiko. So they're under the Seiko family. They operate independently. So, you technically are getting an in-house movement, man. Like, it's just a solid watch. Solid vintage vibes and everything else. So love this watch, man. All right. Moving on. Let me see what's going on. That strap is crazy. Thank you, bro. Yeah, thank you. I love it. I think like once I paired it with that, it was an absolute home run. I have a nice Orient Star. Yeah, Orient Star, Vincent. Orient Star is very nice. Semi-skeleton. That's fire. I'm still waiting on like what skeleton watch really moves me. I haven't really found like a crazy one that I connected to, but skeleton watches are really, really nice, man. They could come out very, very nice. If it's done right, then it could come out very nice. Wife, she concurs with me wearing the Adidas pants with the dress watches. Absolutely. You're fancy with that Orient. Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you. Love the Orient. Thank you, Ben. Trap. Yeah. I'm a little fancy with it. What do we got on the table now? All right, man. So Blue Angels, Citizen, Eco Drive. Oh, man. So I remember this watch. So I got this watch and I wrist this watch. So this watch sits the best and most comfortably as far as the case shape. Like, this case shape was made for my wrist. It sits so flush and it's so... I don't have a watch that sits better on wrist than this watch right here. But that's not the reason why I got it, right? Because I bought this online. I didn't even know that at the time. Why did I get this watch? So number one, you can already tell. It has the blue bezel. I mean, the blue dial. It's all blued out. So that's number one. It already checked that box. I love the fact that of the Eco Drive, man. Citizen has some really good technology, man. And this is solar. So it's going to be all right as long as you're sitting in the sunlight. It has a indicator on it, which is another complication that I really wanted, which is right here. That's the power indicator. So I believe when I do this, I don't mess around with this watch too much, but when I do this and when I do this, it'll tell me, hang on, right there. So now it's telling me how much power it has, and it's going to switch by itself in a couple of seconds, but right there is how much power is left in the watch after being solar charged, and then it's going to kick back. So this watch has I think it's called a perpetual calendar. Never have to set it, man. It's always on the right date. So that's a big plus. It's good until, I don't know, long time. And I really got this watch because of the radio tower setting. So it's supposed to automatically connect to that, which, long story short, man, it don't ever connect to that tower. It never reaches. I'm here in New York, so maybe I needed to be closer or something like that. But it's supposed to have that frequency that it connects to, and then every certain time in the day it'll recalibrate. But that never works out. But at the end of the day, man, super crazy accurate, beautiful piece. Internal rotating bezel, which I also thought was cool. So that this over here moves that around. Never for the life of me use that, but it's cool that it has it. And those were the call out features that really sold me on the watch. And if I'm being completely transparent with you, I originally really liked the strap on this watch. Like, I ended up getting this in metal last minute. I was circling this watch for a while. I didn't pull the trigger right away. But when I first saw it, it had a blue and yellow strap. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but it had a blue and yellow strap to it, which, funny enough, I was so attracted to this watch for that strap that had matched. And of course it had those features that I wanted to see. But last minute I got it on the bracelet. So I realized that before I pulled the trigger on it, man, it's so much easier for you to get that strap after fact. And it's better just to get the bracelet with it up front. So that's exactly what I did. And there's so much more meaning to this watch, guys. Like, if you guys know anything about the Blue Angels and what they do, there's so much history and stuff like that. I believe they still fly their planes and do different shows and everything else. But I didn't get it for that. I got it for the colorway, and I got it for the call out features that I told you before. Again, power indicator is really fancy for me, right? I don't care so much about a perpetual calendar, even though that is really cool, like going back and having to switch the date, not having to do that. That's cool too, man. But I really, if I'm being honest, it was the power indicator, and the fact that it was solar was the best. Trask, bro, you sound like Jason Statham. Do I? All I need is that little bit of British accent, though. It would probably put it all together. My wife hates that guy, by the way. She hates him as an actor. She's nodding her head and she's laughing. Ben, Citizen, I like that. Diver, yeah, man. I think what really puts this watch together is the yellow and the blue together. And I love that seconds hand, man. Like, that really was the epitome of it, man. I really was completely sold by that, and the dial is busy, but it's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on, but at the same time, for some reason, I feel like it's still spaced well. It's balanced, right? And then you get the eco drive, like I said, you get the technology. Citizen is doing some crazy things. And Trap, I know you're on some Citizen kick right now. You're on that Godzilla. Trap is on that Godzilla kick right now with Citizen, man. And that's a beautiful watch, man. And when you have a watch like they had with the Godzilla, and you're just so that passionate and excited. I watched your last live when you were talking about it, when you came back from the movie theater, and I got to go see that movie, man. Like, you sold them some tickets on that live. I'm just letting you know right now. But Citizen I think Citizen has always been doing some phenomenal things with their watches. They're up there, right? Like, they're giving Seiko a run for their money all the time. They're really doing their thing. So, with them sticking to the theme of being more playful and doing things with, like I said, Godzilla, and stepping into doing other things, it's just really showing their flexibility and showing their fun. But there's people who are diehard Citizen diver fans, bro. Like, forget about Seiko, forget about Orient, forget about anybody else's diver. Like, some people will not buy a diver from anyone else but Citizen. So I know that they have phenomenal things, and they're doing a lot of different, technological advancements that they're adding to their watches. So it's a really exciting thing to see. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to continue to show us, what they're really capable of. Citizen is my jam. Yep. Trap, are you on Watch Crunch? Yes. Trap Vision 3D is on Watch Crunch, Ben. Dalton, as you're going through the stated collection, at the end, you're going to have to tell us the 5 that will forever stay with. I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't even have to wait to the end. I'm probably not moving on from all of my pieces that I have here. I mean, listen, I might give some away. Like I give some to my brother. See, that's another trick I'm gonna tell you guys. If you have a brother or sister or a family member, and you got to move on from a watch, don't sell it, man. Especially if it's I mean, listen, do what you want. I take my advice with a grain of salt. Like I had a comment going back and forth with somebody, and they watched one of my videos, and they were like, they thought I was just trying to like push the agenda. But anything that I tell you guys is just my opinion. This is not like, you must collect like this and you must do that. I'm giving you guys just my opinion on things. Okay. So going back to it, I'm going on tangents. So I would say my tip would be this: give your watches away and give it to family members. You know what I mean? Like I give my watches to my brother. So like that one day, if I really miss a watch, I'm like, yo, let me see that watch. Let me hold on to that for a little while. You know what I mean? And then listen, I could swap. I could trade him. I could give him a watch that I'm not really watching. I mean, I'm not really wristing, and I could go back and forth. But if you can't do that, give it to somebody who's getting into collecting, somebody who's just starting off. But I mean, if you're gonna force my hand, bro, and I got to give you 5 watches, I will give it to you in the end. But I'll be honest with you, that's going to be very difficult for me because as it stands, I'm not adding to my collection right now for a reason, because I'm in love with the way it is right now. And I know responsibly, I got to do a lot of information, searching, a lot of research before I just continue down the path of adding to my collection. But I will do my very best to pick out 5, and I'm gonna do it from this watch box, I think, because these are all my sluggers. So anyway, yes, Citizen, very good, very nice. Dalton, let's see. All right, he's a trash actor. Oh snap! You just became my wife's best friend, Ben. He's a trash actor. And all the same ish. Yo, man, listen, we're getting off topic here. We're talking about actors, but some actors are like that, bro. Like Keanu Reeves, he's Neo in every movie, bro. Every single movie. Even if you go back to his older movies. I mean, some actors are just like the same every single movie, and I don't necessarily think that that's trash. I mean, there's more to say for somebody who can change roles and embody something different and give you a completely different actor. If you take Denzel Washington, you'll have Training Day where he's a bad guy, and then you'll have, something completely different from him. So yeah, obviously he deserves different accolades, but listen, at the same time, man, don't fix what ain't broke, I guess, for some actors, you know what I mean? So they just stay the course. I love Godzilla, bro. Bro, I know you love Godzilla. Listen to me. Your energy was coming through the screen when you were talking about that. I gotta watch that in theater too, because from the way you explained it, yo, you need like that surround sound. You need like that real deal screen type vibe type, see everything in the movie theater. So I'm definitely gonna check that out. That Godzilla, man. And that watch that you have from them is phenomenal. All right, let me catch up here. Pro Diver rocks. I agree. I am. Hey, all. Oh, Space G's in the building. So, Space, real quick, you're going to get a watch, and Mark, you're going to get the other watch. The giveaways that I was talking about at the end of my last live, you guys are the 2 winners, and I did it that way because I only had 2, and you guys were the 2 that entered into the giveaway, so I don't have to roll or spin for that. So, Space, I'm gonna hook you up with that. Just hit me up on Watch Crunch with your information so I can give you that. And Mark, if you're seeing this after the fact, do the same. Ben was on a tag crunch. What? What's the tag? His tag is the same name, bro. His Traps tag is the same name. Before the NH35 series, small brand used Miota. Yeah, Miota. I mean, Miota is still a big movement, man. I'm actually looking in. I think it's the Miota. Ooh, I want to say it's 9075 is the GMT movement. I'm just getting into my knowledge of Miota, but yeah, definitely another solid type of movement, and people were using it, and it's still being advanced and everything else, so it's still being used. And I think at this point, like, certain series are perceived to be better than Seiko movements. Sorry, Skylar, I've been told off. The wifey clipped that. No problem. I just appreciate you coming in. Yo, chat. Show love to me for yup. Yo, chat. What watch would best? what watch would best represent Godzilla? Bro, you got to check out that Citizen Godzilla watch that they did. They literally made a watch for Godzilla. Now you got to check that out for sure. Followed. All right, cool. All right, so let's move on from there, and we'll take it from there. Wifey's giving me the signal to wrap things up, guys. She's giving me the 5-minute marker. All right, so I think we'll stop. I think we might stop after this one. Well, how long has it been? Yeah. All right, so we're gonna talk about this one, and then we'll wrap it up. Is that okay? Can I do that? Right? People see me live asking you, right? All right, so this has a story. This has a 30-minute story. So buckle in. No, I'm just playing. Yo, this watch right here has so much inspiration, and it has so much. I get fired up for this watch, man. And this was also a gift from the wifey, so it's very, very special to me. Yo, the Predator, the very first one, Arnold, the one that's like, what is that, 80s, 90s, something like that? The Seiko Arnie, baby. You know this watch. I love it. I absolutely love it. I had to have it at one point in time, and wifey gave me this for my birthday, I believe. Yep. So wifey gave me this for the birthday. And so Predator has been my childhood favorite movie of all time. Like, Predator is my number one. Like, when I saw Predator when I was a kid, I was like, whoa, they could make aliens look like that, like humanoids walking around. And Arnold was big, right? And then the alien was like bigger than him. And oh man, like I get excited for that movie right now today if I put it on, like I was when I was a kid. And we bought the movie anyway. So this watch, man, the Seiko Arnie, man, I had to have it. And this is one of the watches, man. I didn't go in store to see this in person, so I was a little worried about the size of it. You know, Arnold's got some big wrists, so I was like, maybe this is not made for normal people. Maybe it's one of the clunkers. But you will be surprised how well this fits on wrist, man. This is actually just the way the case design is on the side. It has like a little bit of a sloping side shroud on it. It actually fits very well on most wrists. Even if you have a smaller than average or just an average size wrist, you can pull this watch off. I would, implore you to give it a shot. But, you guys know the deal with this one, man. It's a diver style watch. It's 200 meters solar. Absolutely love this one, man. It's got the digital display at the 12 o'clock. That was the story behind it. It's just a childhood watch to get. Once I found out that he was wearing this watch when I started collecting, I'm like, yeah, it's got to get into collect. This watch could have looked like anything. Okay, this watch could have had Looney Tunes on the dial. I was getting the watch. Like, it was in my favorite movie of all time. And so, it's cool that you're here, Trap, to see this, because I saw how excited you are and how you connected your watch to that movie and to getting fired up as a kid, man. And that's what it is for me, man. I'm waiting for Prey 2. Like, they did very well in Prey 1. All the other ones, all the other Predators were kind of like gimmicky, I feel. But I feel like Prey kind of like switched it up and brought it back to that, like, serious vibe for Predator. But yeah, man, this is it. I have a black ceramic bracelet for this watch, but I ended up switching out for that NATO to give it that more of a rugged look at the end of the day. But I got a couple of straps for this. But one thing I wanted to show you guys is the shroud. So the shroud, the normal shroud that comes on this is like it's like a rubber. It's like, I forget the exact type of material. But the only modification that I done to this is I swapped that out for this black PVD metal metal shroud, which just, I don't know, for me, I know that, if you had like the first Seiko Arnie that came out, because this is obviously like the re-release with the solar technology, this, that, and the third. But if you ever seen these watches deteriorate over time, that's what really starts to get eaten away, is this shroud. It just starts to crumble over time or just like split apart. So that was one upgrade to it that I would recommend. You don't have to get this in a PVD black. They have like a shiny, they have like a brushed, whatever you want. I think I lift that off of eBay. So very easy to do. You just get an Allen key to remove the 3 bolts. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And that shroud comes right off. Nice and easy. So that's one of the modifications on this watch that I would recommend for you guys to do. And yeah, man, it sits in the collection. It gets a rotation and it gets a lot of airtime, man. I really love it. You know, some people, you know, fault it for those stubby hour and minute hand, but you know, it's no big deal. Like they had to do that to make the digital display work at the 12 o'clock. So, you know, for me, it's not that big of a deal. Another call out thing for this watch is the screw down, right? So it's 200 meters for a reason. The crown and the pushers are all screwed down. And one thing that I've had people run into when they first get this watch is realize that this watch sets time a little differently with this crown. So when you pull it out, you're going to be changing the digital display, and then the analog is going to follow with that, right? So you would think that it works and functions in a different way. Maybe you change it with the pushers like you do on a regular Seiko, but that's just not how it works. And another thing I realized that people struggle with is they don't know if the pushers are screwed down when it's up or it's down. Like a lot of people feel like, well, normally when I screw down a crown and I secure it for that water resistance, I'm doing this and that's screwing towards the case. But this actually signifies that the watch is open and letting water in because it's a button, right? It's not a crown like it would be for over here. It's a pusher. So in order for that pusher to function, this has to drop down. Now, when you do that, it's an opening from this over here. And the way you know that is there's a little gasket there that shows and is letting you know, hey, I'm open. So just make sure that if you're going to put this in the water, which is 100% fine, that's 200 meters, just make sure that you're screwing it up, right? So screwing it down is screwing it up. Put it that way. So once it's flush like that, now you're water sealed and you're ready to go. So just a little tip with that. And again, the crown itself functions differently with this. So be patient. If you first get this watch, you're going to unscrew that. You're going to set the time. You're going to push it in and then the hands are going to catch up. So that's going to be that. So, Dalton, I can see it. Let me just see what you guys are saying on chat before we wrap things up. Be the well topic. Yep. If you didn't see Stricker, if you didn't see I think you were in the first one, but I also showed the Predator wrist computer, the one that I built as like a custom design. I took the AE 1200 or the 1300 rather, and I customized that to look like Predator's wrist computer. Another inspiration from that Arnold movie, right? I got the 40th. Yeah, Ben, I seen your 40th anniversary one, man. It's fire. I love that I love seeing this watch in different renditions. For me, I needed to get the one that looked closest to the original because I'm just like that. Like I wanted the one that I see on screen. So when I'm watching that movie, I'm like, yeah, you see, I got that watch. But yours is fire too, man. I love the different rendition. Creating a watch that represents our favorite character. Yeah, absolutely, man. Without it being a huge gimmick. Yeah, that's true. It has to still be done tastefully, Trap. It still has to be a watch, right? Like it's cool that they incorporated Godzilla or whoever they're going to incorporate in the watch, but it can't be gimmicking. It can't be just like, oh, we're going to sell this because we're making a movie with that. It still has to be a solid watch. I like the SAF Arnie. But a while back. Hey, fam, I got to hit the road. No problem, brother. No problem, Trap. I'm wrapping things up anyway. So, all right, guys, we're going to pick up from here. I can't give you my solid 5 yet because I didn't go through the whole collection. I didn't realize how long it was going to take, but you guys were digging the story behind it, behind the inspiration behind it, which I get, man. That's the whole point. Like if I just went, oh, I have the Seiko Arnie, and then I have this, I have that. Well, then there's no point. So I get it. I'm probably going to take the full hour to go through the rest of my collection on the next time. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's a Friday, so I appreciate you. And anybody else who's watching this on the playback, I appreciate you guys checking it out. Next time, we'll wrap up the state of the collection, and then we'll get into something else. Until then, enjoy your Friday, guys. Enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.